Hello, good day sa inyong lahat. Ako si Attorney Rosario Olivas, also called Prof. Chato, and I am the lecturer of Easy Law Online, ang aking YouTube channel. Ginawa ko ang video na to para sa iyo, para tulungan ka sa iyong pag-aaral, pag-prepare for the bar exam. And if you are still a law student, pag nagtatake ka ng remedial law review, magiging useful din ang video na to para sa iyo. These are 50 things to remember about settlement of estate of deceased persons. Ang video na to ay ginawa ko exclusively for the paying members of Easy Law Online. Okay, so let us begin. Ang unang dapat tandaan ay ang governing law. Ang substantive law provisions that govern settlement of estate of deceased persons ay makikita sa Civil Code of the Philippines, primarily Article 774 to 1105. Ang procedural counterpart naman niya ay makikita sa Rules 73 to 90 of the Rules of Court. Pagdating naman sa second point, jurisdiction, tatandaan ninyo yung number na 2 million pesos. Ang 2 million pesos and below, kapag yan ang amount ng gross estate, okay, ang may jurisdiction ay ang first level courts. Ito yung mga MPCs, MCPCs, Metropolitan Trial Court, Municipal Trial Court, and so on. Pero kapag lumampas na sa 2 million pesos, ang Regional Trial Court ang may subject matter jurisdiction. Tandaan ninyo na ang basis ng amount is the gross value of the estate. And para hindi kayo malito, isipin ninyo na yung 2 million pesos is the cap. It is the highest amount. So 2 million and below MPC. Above 2 million, that is Regional Trial Court. Punta naman tayo sa venue. Venue, saan ipa-file ang case? This is the geographical location. For decedents who are inhabitants of the Philippines, ipa-file ito sa court in the province where the decedent last resided at the time of death. So ang tinutukoy dito ay ang actual residence, not domicile. Yung actual residence kung saan siya nakatira at the time of death. So ito yung para sa inhabitants or residents of the Philippines. For letter B, for those who are not inhabitants of the Philippines, let's say nag-migrate sila sa US, it is filed in the court in the province where their estate or any part thereof is located. So kung saan yung estate naroroon. Ngayon, tatandaan ninyo, pipili lang kayo ng isang lugar. Kunyari, marami siyang estate, maraming properties, iba-ibang lugar. Quezon City, Manila, and Parañaque. Hindi kayo magpa-file ng kaso sa bawat syudad. You will choose one, and that is where the proceeding is going to be filed. May mga nalilito dito. Ang minsan ay isip niya, it is the place of death. But remember, venue is not based on the place of death. Place of death is not considered in determining the venue. Point number 4, or fourth thing to remember, principle of priority. Anong ibig sabihin? Kasi maaaring nag-file yung mga heirs sa iba't ibang court, hindi nila alam na yung co-heir nila nag-file na pala. So yung court which first takes cognizance of the case is the one that will handle the case from the beginning until the end. At ang ibig sabihin ng cognizance is hindi yung court where the case was first filed. It is the court that first took an action over the case. So this is the rule, quote. The rule is that the court which first takes cognizance of an action over which it has jurisdiction and power to afford complete relief has the exclusive right to dispose of the controversy without interference from other courts of concurrent jurisdiction, in which similar actions are subsequently instituted between the same parties, seeking similar remedies and involving the same questions. Such rule is referred to as the principle of priority or the rule of exclusive concurrent jurisdiction. So tatandaan ninyo yung pangalan ng principle of priority, also known as the rule of exclusive concurrent jurisdiction. And that is found in a 2021 case known as David versus Kalilong. Okay, point number 4, types of judicial settlement. May dalawang klase, testate and intestate. So bakit natin to kailangan malaman? Ang essential difference nito is the appointment of an executor or administrator. Kapag may last will and testament na may nakalagay na executor at tinanggap at nag-qualify ang executor, then ang maa-appoint ng court is that executor, not an administrator. An administrator is appointed kapag intestate ang proceedings or even if it is testate, walang niname na executor or kahit may niname, hindi tinanggap ng designated or named executor or hindi siya nag-qualify. So, pag-uusapan natin yan ulit mamaya. The other reason why we have to know this is because testate proceedings have priority over intestate. Let us say may nag-file ng petition for settlement pero intestate. Nauna yon. And then later on, a will was discovered. So, may priority yung testate. Ang kailangan mag-proceed is the court in which the petition for probate of the will was filed. Now, point number 6, precedence of testate proceedings. So ito na yung sinabi ko. Testate proceedings for the settlement of the estate of the decedent take precedence over intestate proceedings. So nandito yung pangalan ng case. Dienciandio versus Honorable Amor Reyes, a 2006 case. Number 7, necessity of settlement. Settlement is required for the orderly distribution of the decedent's estate to the rightful heirs or devisees or legatees. 8, legatee and devisee. Anong pagkakaiba? Both inherit property by will. A legatee inherits personal property while a devisee inherits real property. 9, summary settlement. Now, ito yung mabilisang pagsettle ng estate of a deceased person if the value of the estate is small. And again, we base this on the gross value. So makikita natin to sa Rules of Court, Rule 74, Section 2. This is allowed when the estate's gross value does not exceed 10,000 pesos. Yun yung nakalagay. Ngayon, although this amount is expected to be updated soon because the Supreme Court is undertaking amendments to the different parts of the Rules of Court. Now, letter B, summary settlement applies when the decedent died with or without a will. So yan, importante. Kahit may will, kahit walang will, pwede. Basta pasok siya sa mga requisites. Letter C. Now, the main distinction sa summary settlement is there is no administrator. It does not require the appointment of an administrator kasi pampahaba lang yun ang proceedings. So we go to letter D. The judge will direct the publication of a notice once a week for 3 consecutive weeks in a newspaper of general circulation in the province. And soon after the judge approves the will, he or she will order the payment of debts to the creditors and divide the net estate among the heirs. Now let's go to point number 10. Extrajudicial settlement. Ito yung pag-settlement ng estate na hindi na pumupunta sa court. There are 3 requisites and these are essential requisites. Number 1, the decedent died in the state. Wala siyang last will and testament. Number 2, there are no outstanding debts. Number 3, the heirs are of legal age or the minors are duly represented by their legal representatives. So remember, all these requisites must concur. Now, ang procedural requirements naman ay ang mga sumusunod. Letter A, execution of a public instrument. Ibig sabihin, notarized document. If there is only one heir, that one heir will execute an affidavit of self-adjudication. If there are 2 or more heirs who agree, of course, they have to agree before they can enter into an extrajudicial settlement, they will execute a deed of extrajudicial settlement. Now, ang next procedural requirement is publication of a notice once a week for 3 consecutive weeks in a newspaper of general circulation in the province. Letter C, posting of bond by the heirs with a register of deeds in an amount equivalent to the value of the personal property as certified under oath by the parties concerned. This will answer for just claims of unpaid creditors or excluded heirs. Okay. So, number 12, probate proceeding. Ano to? Ito yung formal process of proving the validity of a will. This is initiated by a petition for allowance of the will. Remember, if there is a last will and testament, hindi pwedeng i-implement yon nang hindi dumadaan sa probate. Kailangan i-approve ng court yung will. Number 13, allowance of a will. If the will is found valid, it will be allowed by the court. When the court allows a will, this is conclusive as to its genuineness and due execution. Ito ang tinutukoy natin na extrinsic validity. It will be valid. Extrinsically, hindi na pwedeng i-question, hindi na pwedeng sabihin may forgery and all that. Pero yung intrinsic validity, pwede pa rin i-question. Number 14, formalities of a notarial will. It must be in writing. It must be subscribed by the testator, meaning signed by the testator. It must be attested and subscribed or signed by 3 credible witnesses in the presence of the testator and each other, and it must be notarized. Kapag holographic will naman, it must be entirely written, dated, and signed by the hand of the testator. Hindi kailangan ng witness. 16. Probate of holographic will if uncontested. At least one witness who knows the handwriting and signature of the testator must testify. Kung wala siya or kung unfavorable ang kanyang testimony, expert testimony may be resorted to. 17. Probate of holographic will if contested. The will shall be allowed if at least 3 witnesses who know the handwriting of the testator explicitly declare that the will and the signature are in the handwriting of the testator. So kapag uncontested, you only need 1 witness. Kapag contested, you need 3 witnesses. And furthermore, in the absence of any competent witnesses, and if the court deems necessary, expert testimony may be resorted to. 18. Proof when testator petitions regarding his own holographic will. So ito, the testator himself is the one who files the petition during his lifetime. If uncontested, the fact that the testator affirms that the holographic will and the signature are in his own handwriting shall be sufficient evidence of the genuineness and due execution of the will. If the holographic will is contested, the burden of disproving the genuineness and due execution thereof shall be on the contestant. The testator is allowed to rebut the evidence for the contestant. So makikita ninyo, ang initial presumption is in favor of the testator. So the one who disproves the genuineness has the burden of proof. 19. Lost or destroyed notarial will. Yung petitioner must prove these requisites. A, the will is valid. B, it was duly executed. C, it existed at the time of the testator's death. D, it was fraudulently or accidentally destroyed during the testator's lifetime without his knowledge. Bakit? Kasi kung sinira o winula ang will intentionally at ito ay ginawa ng testator or with his knowledge and consent, ito ay equivalent sa cancellation of the will. Kaya kailangan i-prove na ang pagkasira o ang pagkawala ng will is without the knowledge of the testator and that it was done during the testator's lifetime. Now, last requisite, its provisions are clearly proven by the testimony of at least 2 credible witnesses. So sa notarial will ito na may witness ka na magsasabi ano yung nilalaman nung notarial will na yon. Number 20, lost or destroyed holographic will. So in addition to those mentioned in A to D in item 19, dahil walang witness sa holographic will, yung contents nito ay pwedeng ma-prove by a photocopy or a reproduction. 21. Allowance of the will is conclusive as to its genuineness and due execution. Hindi na pwedeng i-question ang genuineness and due execution ng will kapag allowed na to. Number 22. Petition for letters testamentary or administration. Ito ang initiatory pleading filed to commence the settlement of an estate. Pwede rin petition for allowance of the will. That's another petition to commence the settlement of an estate. Number 23, ano yung contents ng petition for issuance of letters testamentary or letters of administration? Letter A, jurisdictional facts. Well, kailangan i-allege that the decedent has passed away. When did the decedent pass away? Saan siya nagre-reside at the time of his death, and other matters to prove that the court has jurisdiction. Letter B, the names, ages, and residences of the heirs, the names and residences of the creditors of the decedent. C, probable value and character of the property of the estate, and D, name of the person for whom letters of administration are prayed. So tingnan mo sa letter C, probable value and character of the property of the estate. So hindi kailangan may definitive value kahit yung probable value, basta ma-file mo yung petition. Okay? Because the values will be determined later on when the case is already ongoing. 24, opposition to petition. Now, the court will issue an order publishing an order that will be published saying that anybody interested can file an opposition or comment. So interested parties can oppose the petition for various reasons like invalidity of the will, lack of qualification of the petitioner, and other grounds. 25. Special administrator. So di ba pinag-uusapan natin appointment of the executor or the administrator, meaning the regular administrator. Pero may time na pwedeng mag-appoint ng special administrator. And that is when there is delay in granting letters testamentary or administration, or when the executor or administrator is removed or incapacitated. 26, reprobate. Ang ibig sabihin nito, there is a will that has been probated in another country and it may again be probated in the Philippines. Hindi automatic na kapag na-probate na yung will sa foreign country, pwede na siyang i-enforce sa Pilipinas. At kailan nangyayari itong reprobate? When the decedent has properties located in the Philippines that must be subject to administration. Kasi hindi pwedeng mag-administer yung person who is outside of the Philippines because the Philippine court will have no jurisdiction over that person. Item 27. What is the effect? The Philippine court will appoint an executor or administrator to administer the estate in the Philippines. Ito yung kapag na reprobate. 28. Letters testamentary. Ano to? Ito ay issued ng court. It's like an appointment of the executor. This is issued by a court in favor of the executor that is named in a duly probated will. So dapat ma-approve mo na yung will bago magkaroon ng letters testamentary. 29. Letters of administration. Similar to letters testamentary, this is an appointment issued by the court. Kaya lang, walang executor. So, this is issued to an administrator when a decedent died intestate, walang will, or when the executor named in the will is unwilling or unable to serve, or kahit may will, walang nakalagay na pangalan ng executor. Number 30, order of preference for administrator. So letter A, ang unang-una, surviving spouse, next of kin like the children or persons whom they request to be appointed. Siyempre, pag children, ang ibig sabihin nito, they are already of the age of maturity. Letter B, one or more principal creditors. They will be eligible to administer because they are interested in the estate. And of course, they want to preserve the estate. And then C, a person selected by the court. So this is an order of preference. Una muna A, tapos B, tapos C. But remember, pwedeng magkaroon ng concurrent appointment. Pwedeng magkaroon ng 2 or more administrators depending on the reason of the court. Sometimes the court will appoint 2 administrators to represent the interests of 2 groups of heirs. or interested parties. 31. Who cannot serve as executor or administrator? Letter A, a minor, meaning a person below 18. So kapag 18 and above, pwede. B, a non-resident of the Philippines for the reason that the Philippine court will not have jurisdiction over the person of a non-resident. And letter C, a person who is unfit to execute the duties of the trust because of drunkenness, improvidence, want of understanding or integrity, conviction of an offense involving moral turpitude. So ito, note, there must be a conviction. Kapag charged pa lang, for example, a person is charged with rape, which is an offense involving moral turpitude, pero hindi naman siya convicted, pwede siyang mag-serve. Bond requirement for administrator. Magpuput up yung administrator ng bond to ensure faithful performance of duties. Ano yung duties na to? 4. Number 1, submit an inventory within 3 months. Number 2, submit an accounting within 1 year. Number 3, administer the estate. Number 4, perform all court orders. 33, an inventory. Ito yung listahan ng mga goods, chattels, rights, credits, and estate of the deceased, which shall come to the administrator's or executor's possession or knowledge, or to the possession of any person for him. Number 34, ano yung mga hindi isasama sa inventory? Wearing apparel of the surviving spouse and minor children, marriage bed and bedding, provisions and other articles, as will necessarily be consumed for the sustenance of the decedent's family. 35, allowance for widow and family. The widow and minor, ito yung nakalagay sa rules of court, no? Pero may iba yung nakalagay sa family code. So, sa rules of court, the widow and minor or incapacitated children of a deceased person during the settlement of the estate shall receive such allowance as provided by law. Rule 83, Section 3. So ito note, widow, minor, incapacitated children during the settlement of the estate. Iba naman yung sinasabi ng family code. Under the family code, support is not limited to minors or incapacitated persons, and it is not limited to the period during which the estate is being settled. Being substantive law, the family code should prevail. This is what Article 194 of the Family Code provides. Support comprises everything indispensable for sustenance, dwelling, clothing, medical attendance, education, and transportation in keeping with the financial capacity of the family. The education of the person entitled to be supported, referred to in the preceding paragraph, shall include schooling, training for some profession, trade, or vocation, even beyond the age of majority. So dito makikita nyo ang pagkakaiba. Transportation shall include expenses in going to and from school or to and from place of work. So hindi ito limited sa minor, incapacitated persons, and not limited during the settlement of the estate, but support may continue even beyond the age of majority as long as there is schooling or training for some profession. And pag titignan ninyo yung provision, it says, person entitled to be supported. Hindi lang to children, kasama dito yung spouse. Number 36, questions of ownership. Let's say na gumagawa ng inventory yung administrator, my question is, sasama ba to sa inventory when somebody is claiming this piece of property? Under the rules, if there are questions of property ownership, as to whether or not property belongs to the estate, the settlement court may make a provisional determination. Provisional lang. Subject to the outcome of a case filed with the regular courts. Ang mahalaga, makompleto yung inventory. 37. Powers and duties of executor or administrator. Take possession of the estate, pay the debts and taxes, preserve the estate, and distribute the residue to the heirs. 38. Sale, mortgage, or lease. Since these are acts of ownership, the executor or administrator can do this, but they need the court's approval before entering into these transactions concerning estate property. Kapag sinel nila yung property, mortgage or lease, without court approval, then that transaction will be void. 39. Actions by or against the executor or administrator. They can sue and be sued on behalf of the estate with respect to actions that survive the death of the decedent. So may mga actions that don't survive like actions for legal separation, ay hindi yun talaga pwede na ma-pursue. But for others, the actions that survive the death of the decedent, pwedeng mag-continue yung case. And this can be by or against the executor or administrator. 40. Compromise. The executor or administrator may enter into compromise agreements on behalf of the estate with a court approval. So let us say there's somebody who owes the estate an obligation. The executor or administrator may enter into a compromise agreement. 41. Special administrator. Okay, what happens when regular administrator or an executor is already appointed? The powers of the special administrator will cease. Okay, and then we go to 42. What's the effect of this? The special administrator shall deliver to the executor or administrator the goods, chattels, money, and estate of the deceased in his hands. The executor or administrator may prosecute to final judgment suits commenced by the special administrator. 43. Money claims against the estate. This is very important. Kapag may money claim against the estate, the claimant will not file a separate civil action for a sum of money. Okay, they must file the claim in the settlement proceeding. So alamin natin, ano ba ang money claim? Number 1, contractual. These are all claims for money against the decedent arising from contract expressed or implied, whether due, not due, or contingent. For example, the decedent executed a promissory note. Tapos yung deadline for the payment has passed and he was not able to pay. So the creditor has a claim against him. The creditor can file that money claim in the settlement proceedings. Number 2, funeral expenses. Number 3, expenses for the last illness of the deceased. And number 4, the judgments for money. Note, judgments. Ibig sabihin, hindi pending case. There is already a final judgment. Number 44, statute of non-claims. Now, very important. Creditors must file their money claims against the estate within the period fixed by the court, usually 6 to 12 months from the date of first publication of the notice to creditors. If not filed within the time given, these claims are barred forever. Kaya ang tawag dito sa provision na to, the statute of non-claims. However, if the creditor was not able to file the claim within the period fixed by the court, these claims may be raised as counterclaims in actions filed by the executor or administrator against the claimants or creditors. The claimant should not file a separate civil action to enforce these claims. 45. Actions that the administrator may bring. These are actions affecting the property rights of the decedent, such as actions to foreclose a mortgage when the decedent was the mortgagee. So this is not going to be, all right, okay, this is an action that survives the death of the decedent. Number 46, actions that may be filed against the administrator. Actions, letter A, actions to recover real or personal property or an interest therein from the estate. B, actions to enforce a lien thereon. And C, actions to recover damages for an injury to person or property, real or personal. Actions that do not survive. Ano to? Actions, number 1, actions for recovery of moral damages unless it is the surviving spouse, legitimate or illegitimate children of the deceased who filed the action arising from the death of the deceased. Number 2, actions based on contract where the injury complained of is purely personal. 48, payment of debts and obligations. The executor or administrator should pay the debts and obligations of the deceased in the order provided by law. Estate tax must be paid before the estate can be distributed. 49, distribution of the estate. After payment of debts, taxes, and expenses of administration, the remaining estate is distributed to the heirs, devisees, and legatees. And number 50, project and order of partition. The executor or administrator or the heirs themselves in extrajudicial settlement prepares a project of partition outlining how the estate will be divided. In judicial settlement, the court issues an order approving the project of partition. So there you have it. 50 important things you must remember regarding settlement of estate of deceased persons. So now, I would like to address you directly as you, the law student, the one who is preparing for the bar, the law graduate. I pray for your success in your law studies, in your bar exam, and in your career. God bless you. Always remember to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. This is from Micah chapter 6, verse 8. This is Attorney Chato Olivas of Easy Law Online. God bless you.